Now on CoastTV News.
Supreme Court rulings.
This is our home. We belong here.
The High Court ruling on birthright citizenship and transgender athletes. Legislative session last day. Delaware lawmakers down to the wire on pushing bills forward.
As we're tracking the potential of dangerous heat, the temperatures are escalating even more.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Today is the last day for lawmakers, a part of the 153rd General Assembly. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Brandon Ferguson. Welcome to CoastTV News at 11. We begin with a flurry of bills passed in Delaware as the Senate is actively in session right now and the House went on recess at 10:12. Starting with a Delaware constitutional amendment now ready for the governor's action. House Bill 430 would require that only natural persons can vote in Delaware elections, blocking LLCs, corporations, and other artificial entities from voting. The bill comes after a lawsuit over Fenwick Island's policy allowing those entities to vote in local elections. And this is important to note. Because this is the first leg of a constitutional amendment, it will still need to pass again in the next General Assembly before becoming part of Delaware's Constitution. A bill passed adding new rules for firearm dealers. The bill would require state licenses for firearm dealers, adding stronger security, training, and reporting requirements, and allowing reoccurring inspections by Delaware State Police. This just in, Delaware lawmakers have passed a bill to strengthen background checks for volunteer firefighters. Senate Bill 325 requires state and federal criminal background checks for many members. A House amendment narrowing the bill, changing felony to violent felony, exempting some limited responsibility members without public safety duties, and delaying the implementation for 180 days. A Delaware voting rights bill is also heading to the governor's desk. The Delaware John Lewis Voting Rights Act would create new protections against voter suppression, vote dilution, intimidation, and deception. It would also require language assistance in certain local elections. When there is a need. If signed, the bill would give voters, organizations, and the Attorney General more ways to challenge election practices in court. A Rehoboth Beach charter bill is also ready for the governor's action. After passing both chambers, Senate Bill 306 would update several city rules, including fines for ordinance violations, city salaries, and how property assessments are handled. The bill would also amend in the House to remove proposed candidate restriction tied to spouses. That was removed. And it also removes outdated powers from the charter, like taxing dog owners. A bill creating Delaware's Office of New Americans is also ready for the governor's action. Senate Bill 27 would establish the office to help support immigrants and new Americans living here in the first state, with the goal of improving access to services and strengthening economic opportunities. Let's all catch our breaths on those bills. All of them right now are in a lot more detail on CoastTV.com. And take a look at this point on your screen. That's where Delaware State Police shot and killed a man that was refusing troopers' orders last night in Magnolia. Troopers say the shooting happened at around 9:15 when State Police showed up to East Cherry Drive in Magnolia. Troopers say 37-year-old Christopher Glandon, who was suicidal according to a DSP post, had a gun and was trying to enter a house where his family members were inside. Troopers say Glandon did not follow troopers' orders and then pointed his gun. At that point, troopers shot and killed Glandon. The troopers involved are now on administrative leave, which typically happens after an officer-involved shooting, while State Police and the Delaware Department of Justice review the use of force. Today, temperatures are climbing into the 90s, and they're expected to rise even higher as we head toward the holiday weekend. With the heat creating tougher conditions, some people have mixed feelings on how hot it really feels outside.
Keep a cooler with some water in there. Stay in the shade.
Back in Europe, we used to be high temperatures and stuff like that. So in Romania right now, I think it's like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's It's okay for us.
It's not okay for many of us as we look outside into Ocean City and bring in First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams. Paul, it is only getting hotter outside.
And now it's getting to the dangerous level. Now, what we typically would usually talk about this stuff, we usually talk about a heat advisory, which is when the heat index is between 103 to 109. However, that's not what we're concerned with. We are under what's called excessive heat concerns. We're not under, well, part of us are under a warning, but life-threatening heat index over 110, and heat illnesses are likely, not possible, but likely. Now, this has been updated recently. Newcastle County under an extreme heat warning, okay? That kicks in Thursday, going to Friday and Saturday. Now, that's for the most northern parts of the state. For us, we're under an extreme heat watch, which means we're going to get at about 109 for the heat index. But regardless, I mean, that's kind of like saying tomato. It's going to be hot regardless. And that now involves the entire Delmarva Peninsula with the extreme heat watch, with an extreme heat warning for Newcastle. Coming up, we'll talk about that and the combination of the elevated UV index and how that could cause more complications throughout the rest of the week.
Thank you, Paul. And this brings us to our Coast TV poll. We want to know which heat risk worries you the most. Let's take a look at the updated results from our 6 p.m. news hour. 72% power outages, 10% dehydration, 14% heat stroke, and 4% on sunburn. If you haven't voted yet, you still can on CoastTV.com or on our mobile app. Sussex County leaders say they are opening cooling stations ahead of the 4th of July holiday. As you just heard, some dangerous heat moves in. As Paul just explained, the county says the efforts is designed to help people stay safe and avoid heat-related illnesses during the extreme temperatures. Air-conditioned libraries in Georgetown, Greenwood, Milton, and Bethany Beach will serve as cooling sites during select hours, with the Georgetown County Administrative Offices also available for relief. We have more information and exact locations on those cooling stations on CoastTV.com. Governor Wes Moore has declared a state of preparedness ahead of this historic heat wave expected to impact Maryland. The order allows the state to coordinate resources before conditions worsen. And if you're heading to the gas station tomorrow in Maryland, expect to pay a bit more. The state's gas tax is increasing just ever so slightly. It's raising by 1.3%, bringing it from 46 cents to 46.6 cents for a gallon of gas. It's the first increase after 2 years of declines, and for people already feeling squeezed by high prices, they say even a small hike like this hits hard.
Well, it's not good. Nobody wants to pay extra for gas. I mean, everybody would like to see it come down really low, and I don't know if we'll ever see that again.
AAA says the current average in Maryland is just under $3.74 a gallon, which is up from last year's average at $3.27 a gallon. And take a look at your screen. This is the area north of the Mispillion Inlet near Slaughter Beach. It's close to the DuPont Nature Center. Coast TV News reporter Emma Aiken was in our Coast Copter earlier today. She shows us the plan to protect that area.
We are flying in the Coast Copter near Slaughter Beach, where you can see right now really the only level of protection is these current jetties. Now the Army Corps' new plan calls for what's called beach nourishment. That means moving lots and lots of sand to build a berm to protect against erosion. Kathy, Bob, and Christine Werns were looking out at the inlet from the DuPont Nature Center. They think adding a berm is a good idea.
To keep the beaches that we have now and the shorebirds safe, we really need to do something to protect them because all of these species are endangered.
The Army Corps says the main area of concern is the state-owned beach north of the inlet. Just how much sand will be needed to create the berm? About 80,000 cubic yards. According to the Army Corps, the project will be entirely federally funded and the construction cost would be capped at $15 million.
Well, like all government projects, in my opinion, that's a lot of money. But if that kind of thing would solve a beach erosion problem, I would understand undertaking that, because that's a lot of money. But I understand
The Army Corps says this will be a one-time thing, something they've never done here before and hopefully won't have to do again.
Back here in the Coast Copter now, the plans about this area have not yet been finalized. The Army Corps says a final plan is likely to come next spring, with construction to begin in late 2028. Reporting in our Coast Copter near Slaughter Beach, Emma Aiken, Coast TV News.
And the Army Corps did say any jetty repairs would fall under a completely separate process and would require a major maintenance report to be funded before repairs could actually move forward. Public comments are still being accepted right now. Now to the high-stakes ruling upholding birthright citizenship, striking down President Trump's controversial executive order banning citizenship for babies born to undocumented immigrants. And the other ruling, a major one allowing states to ban transgender women and girls from playing on sports teams.
Tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court dealing a major blow to President Trump's immigration crackdown, striking down his controversial executive order that sought to ban automatic U.S. citizenship for babies born to undocumented immigrants. The president today slamming the court's decision as too bad for our country, while immigration advocates celebrated it.
The fact is that if you're born here, you're an American citizen, period.
The president has long railed against birthright citizenship enshrined in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution passed after the Civil War.
This was not meant for Chinese billionaires to have their children become citizens of our country. This was meant, or other rich people, poor people. This was meant for the babies of slaves.
But today, Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, reaffirming the long-settled understanding of the 14th Amendment, guaranteeing citizenship to all children born in the U.S. and subject to its power, with limited exceptions. Writing, quote, "The framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every free-born person in this land. We keep that promise today." In dissent, Justice Samuel Alito calling the ruling a serious mistake that preserves a powerful incentive to enter or remain in this country illegally. The executive order, if allowed, could have potentially impacted more than 250,000 babies born in the U.S. every year to non-citizens. 13-year-old Mia expressing relief today that families like hers can now stay together.
This is our home. We belong here.
We are just getting started tonight on Coast TV News at 11. A news stop for the Salisbury Airport, one you will be able to take advantage of a new destination. Earthquakes killed nearly 2,000. How many are still recovering in Venezuela? And Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams in the Coast TV First Alert Weather Center. He has your latest look at hazardous heat and humidity on the way. But first, from County Council to the White House, Joe Biden's political career spanned more than 5 decades. We look back at the life of Delaware's first president. All that and more as we continue.
America 250 on Delmarva, brought to you by Tidal Health Inc.
233 years after it became the first state to ratify the Constitution, the first person from Delaware was elected President of the U.S. Joe Biden brought global attention to the state and Rehoboth Beach area. Joe Biden's long career as a political figure began just prior to his 28th birthday, when he was elected to the Newcastle County Council. 2 years later, he was headed to the U.S. Senate, where he represented Delaware for 36 years. Due to Washington's proximity to Delaware, Biden famously commuted by train on a regular basis. His experience in the Senate led Barack Obama to tap Biden as vice president in a historic 2-term administration. In November 2020, Biden was elected the 46th President of the United States, the first Delawarean to hold the highest office in the land. Biden had to guide the nation through an unprecedented global pandemic and shape America's and NATO's response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. During his term, the White House was his temporary home, but he was a regular at his Delaware house in North Shores. Time away from the intensity of Washington, D.C. meant some R&R on the beach. He served the public for a half a century, and for over 70 years, Joe Biden has called Delaware home.
At the Tidal Health Family Medicine Residency Clinic in Salisbury, our dedicated team supports your family through every milestone in one accessible location. We provide comprehensive services including newborn care, routine checkups, illness visits, immunizations, and sports physicals. By combining a welcoming atmosphere with flexible scheduling and a team you can trust, we simplify healthcare for today's busy families. For more information, visit tidalhealth.org/yourfamily.
Lots of heat and humidity on the way. The problem is the burning aspects of the sun with the UV index. Of course, we're talking about temperatures in the 100s. And there's this thing called a drought happening across Delmarva too. Oh yeah, it's all loads of fun thanks to abundance of sun. For Rehoboth, we're at 75 degrees right now. We'll drop to 72 with a few clouds streaming in into the early morning hours. But this is the bigger story. Extreme heat watch. Now, it doesn't kick in until Thursday, but we're getting an early warning because that's just how serious this is going to be. We're talking 3 days where we're looking out for temperatures to be near 100 and the heat index near 109. And now it's including the entire Delmarva Peninsula. And just for context, we have an extreme heat warning. Now, we're in an extreme heat watch, but there's an extreme heat warning for Newcastle and the Philadelphia area. So we're in the general vicinity of crazy heat that, believe it or not, is going to affect 170 million people. And we're one of them. 89 for the high today in Georgetown, as well as Salisbury, 93 for the high in Dover. We're right now at 75 in Lewis, Rehoboth, but we're also at 75 degrees right now in Bethany Beach. We're about 9 degrees warmer Ocean City. The other locations about 3 to 4 degrees. Another concern with all this heat is the abundance of bright sunshine, which will burn your skin very quickly within 10 minutes because we're at a 10, which is only one step below extreme. So that's why 10 minutes, that's all that'll happen. Let me show you how quickly you could burn. We're talking about 98 to 102 to 99. I mean, that's crazy heat. And plus, we're not even talking about 95 and 94 degrees like that's nothing. It's really something. We're going to get up to 96 in Dover, 95 in Milford, for example. We're going to push it up 93 in Denton and Federalsburg, and we'll get 92 degrees for the high in Berlin. The kind of heat we're talking about is, I want you to imagine breaking record highs 3 days in a row in summertime. That's what we're going to do for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, because we're expected to break these old records with what we're predicting in the first place. And the all-time record high is 104. That was set on June 22nd and 23rd in 2011. Wednesday through Sunday, massive humidity along the coast, high pressure system with the clockwise rotation will dig into more moisture, fling it on top of us, flex in a massive summer kind of way, and just get stupid hot. Now, not to mention, we're still in the midst of a drought. In fact, an extreme drought to be exact. So you add the heat with the drought already, and the drought continues because for June, we're under 2 inches of rain. And for our normal amount of rain, we're 1.25 inches shy just about. And for the year, we are 6 inches shy. So that lets you know. In our futurecast, we're talking about some rain for Sunday, Saturday, going into Sunday, and that's dwindling as we speak. So we have 3 red alert days because of the heat and the humidity. And to be honest, the latest model run actually went 100, 103, but I'm keeping it at 98 and 99 because I don't want to depress anybody any worse than I already have.
So, trying your best, Paul. It's going to be hot for the holiday weekend. Thank you for that. In Dorchester County, Hurlock leaders are now asking people to conserve water after the town's shallow well had to be taken out of service for emergency repairs. The town says debris and small pebbles got into the well's pump, and that crews are now taking a closer look at the whole thing, the entire system. The town says the goal is to make sure everything is in good working order before turning the well back on.
We have 2 wells that service the town. When one goes down, we want to make sure we're looking at every opportunity to be cautious about how we're using our water.
The town's deep well is still up and running, and you can meet the community's, and that well can meet the community's normal water demand. So no mandatory water restrictions are in effect. That shallow well is expected to be out of commission for the next few weeks. Anybody like Fort Lauderdale? You can head over to the Salisbury Airport. That's their new travel option. That starts tomorrow. Breeze Airways will begin nonstop service between Salisbury and Fort Lauderdale. Flights are scheduled for Wednesdays and Saturdays. The inaugural flight is set to arrive at around 7:30 tomorrow night and depart around 9 o'clock. This new route expands on Breeze's existing service connecting Salisbury to Orlando. Coming up in sports, new faces at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore meet the new head softball coach for the Hawks when we come back in just a few minutes. But first, earthquake killing nearly 2,000 people. How many are still recovering in Venezuela? At least 1,900 people are dead, with more still missing after two powerful earthquakes struck Venezuela within seconds of each other last Wednesday. Rescue crews are still searching through the rubble for survivors, but tens of thousands are feared to be dead.
Spanish rescue dogs are assisting the search for survivors and navigating the rubble left by a pair of Venezuela earthquakes last week. 6 days on, the time frame to retrieve people alive is crucial. The National Assembly president says the death toll has risen above 1,900, with more than 10,000 injured. Even amongst bleak odds, miraculous recoveries are happening. This video is of a 3-year-old boy. Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez announced that he was saved Tuesday, 1 day short of a full week since the earthquakes struck. A Jordanian search team discovered him in La Guaira. Some loved ones of the missing say they want to be reunited with relatives, whether they're living or dead.
Please, those of you who are here, help us. Help us. We have been waiting many days. We already know those bodies have been there for several days since Wednesday, but at least let us take our loved ones home.
The U.S. Geological Survey has said there's a high chance that the magnitude 7.2 and 7.5 earthquakes have killed tens of thousands of people. I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
Good evening, Delmarva. UMES has made sweeping changes across a few sports teams, so let's get you up to date on some of the new faces you'll see for the Hawks this coming school year. Aria Nicholas caught up with the new head softball coach, Chelsea Holliday. Let's take a look.
One of the 4 new head coaches being welcomed to Maryland Eastern Shore is out on Hawk Field with the softball team, and that is Holly Holliday.
Yes.
Welcome to Princess Anne.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Excited.
What was the most exciting thing for you when you got up this morning and realized, I'm going to work?
I would say just getting acclimated with a new area, but ultimately I think just excited that I had a campus that I can kind of walk on, and was pretty spread out. So steps are a thing, getting my steps in and rolling with the punches.
You did a lot of great things at your last stop at Bluefield State. Team got better every single year.
Yes.
Literally best season in program history this past spring. I mean, it seems like you had a lot of fun there.
Yes.
What did you learn the most about yourself and how to win?
Definitely just homing down on celebrating the small victories and making those small things kind of amount to bigger outcomes and bigger stages.
How do you feel like being at a school like UMES is really going to unlock a vision that you see for a softball program?
I think ultimately you have the resources, you have the location, you have the culture changes that you're looking to build within a program. I think more so the ball's in the players in the team's court right now, just being willing to buy into what the future holds and what UMES softball looks like in the future, instead of essentially a team you can kind of might have to roll over on, a team you actually got to work for a win.
I know officially you've only had the job for a couple of weeks, but
Yes.
have you had the chance to connect with any of the student athletes who are currently within the program, and what have those conversations been like? I know you've mentioned buy-in, but
Yeah.
you know, it is a little daunting to have a new coach come into any kind of program, so how have you kind of tried to cut through?
We have 16 currently on the existing roster from the previous team. Of a lot of talent, a lot of great character. I think they're naturally detectives themselves because they've looked me up, but also as their coach coming in, I've also looked up them too to see like how they perform numbers-wise. Numbers don't lie. I was able to meet the team before I was announced, which was actually exciting, and they asked a lot of great questions and a lot of challenging questions. It's like the unknown of what you really know, what you're truly working with, and then also what they're coming back to see a difference and maybe a different outcome they wanted to see or a different goal they wanted to accomplish.
That's going to do it for sports. Have a great night.
LeBron James is expected to leave the Los Angeles Lakers and play elsewhere next season. His agent, Rich Paul, told ESPN that James has informed the Lakers they can move on without him. James has not announced his next move, but his camp is expected to field interest from teams around the league. The 41-year-old is entering his record 24th NBA season. Now let's take a live look outside into Salisbury and check in one more time with our forecast after the break.
Let's take a look at what's happening in low 73 degrees actually for us, and we're going to stay in the low 70s for the rest of the night. So the big story here is the extreme heat watch, which means we're going to go up to 109 for the heat index at the very least. That's for the entire Delmarva Peninsula with the exception of Newcastle, where it's going to be at 110 or above. Umbrella giveaway. Mark Yent of Milton. Congratulations, courtesy of Paul Davis, property restoration experts. Now, keep up with your forecast, and I also did a special report on our weather line about the forecast and about the different watches and warnings that are in effect. Call 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away, sponsored by the law offices of Brockstedt, Mandalis, and Federico. And here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Even though we're going to warm to 94 degrees tomorrow, that's not the red alert day, ironically enough. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 98, 102, 99, more humidity on all three of those days, which means we're going to have a heat index of at least 103 all 3 days, if not higher than that.
Thank you, Paul, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 11. For more news and local weather, you can download our Coast TV News app and be sure to check our website because the Delaware State Senate is still in session right now. We'll have more updates on that tomorrow morning on Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Everyone have a great night.